why the world is still so difficult. Brutal fact. So you would think in the year 2020 that life should be a lot easier. Like if you watch the Jetsons, like I did when I was a kid, they just press buttons and they fly all over the place, and it's easy and it's fun. But it's like most people's lives are. I mean, there's some really wealthy people that have luxuries, but everyone's standard of living obviously is much higher on average than it was in the past. And life is much easier than it was in past times, but it's still difficult. Even surviving takes a lot of work, a lot of effort. And I want to talk a little bit about that. I see two major reasons for that, and I want to explain what I think they are. Okay, so obviously life is much easier. Much is a relative term, but it's easier than it was in earlier times. Like when we were living among the dinosaurs, I'm not sure if like people were even humans then, or if we were Neanderthals or whatever we were, but maybe even chimpanzees. I have no idea in terms of the lineage anthropology. But, you had to worry about being eaten by tigers or lions or dinosaurs or whatever was around, at that earlier time. And, when you were when it was an agrarian society, then you had to work 14 hours a day and you never got off your farm and you still had hardly any money, hardly anything to show for it. And, then 200 years ago, 150 years ago, you sweated your life in a sweatshop factory and you didn't have much to show for it. So, by those standards, and then in the Wild West, they could just shoot you down for no reason. And, the law was the fastest gun. So, I mean, compared to all those things, and then even World War I and World War II, like the atrocities of the Holocaust and everything like that. So, and slavery and everything. So, in American history. So, compared to those things, today is more civilized, but it's not the Jetson lifestyle. It's not anything close to that. I mean, it's still difficult, quite difficult. And I would say two major reasons for that in my view. Okay, reason number one is because human beings are dominance animals. I mean, we have an animal nature and it's geared towards dominance. Like if you look at horses, they also have that, like the bigger or stronger horses will eat first and the other ones will just wait and stand there and not complain until the other ones are done. And I think, they say like in America and other places, you get as much justice as you can afford. I mean, it's a lot easier if you have a lot of money and are wealthy, obviously, than if you're not. And I think that, in the olden days, it used to be like I said, like the battle of the gun or the fastest or the strongest physically. But now the battle is more psychological, of all different forms. And I could have a podcast just on that. But, the first reason why life is so difficult first is because it's so competitive. Human beings have kind of taken over the planet. I mean, we'll be going to Mars and Jupiter, and I don't know, like actually when we start going to other planets, I think that's going to contribute more to an abundance mentality because technology always helps a little bit. Like I said, over time it has helped. And, when there's enough for everyone that people don't have to fight over things, there's no wars, and maybe we'll have a universal basic income because we just have a lot of resources and people can spend their time doing what they want and travel the cosmos, galaxies, and, things will be pretty easy. But until that time, and obviously we're moving probably slowly in that direction. Some people feel like with the pandemic and other things that we're moving backwards. I mean, it's hard to tell just in a few months. You have to look at things in a longer time period to see, if things are becoming more difficult or less difficult. But we're also evolving like we do physically very, very slowly. I think we're evolving like socially very slowly as well. So we're not as barbaric, and I think in our mindset as we used to be. I think we have more culture, we have more civilization, more kindness. I think like even the social justice movement now is an aspect of that. And a lot of things that used to be acceptable in the past are considered, wrong today, for good reason. And hopefully that'll continue, and that, someday they'll look back on us and they'll be like, oh, I can't believe people in the 2020s did this or did that. Hopefully, like, human beings will always become more humane and better, in our spirits and in our hearts. So the first reason why life is so difficult is because we're a dominance-oriented species. Like, everybody wants to be king of the hill. I mean, I can't say everybody, but I think it's there's something in psychology called will to power that people have. There's a lot of different drives. I mean, there's hunger, there's sex, there's positive. I'm not saying like some are negative and some are positive, because you can make different arguments, but there's love and there's self-actualization, and I'm not saying like life is all like, negative and there's no love in the world. There's definitely love in the world, but there's a very competitive element, and that's the first reason why life is so difficult, because the things that you want, a lot of other people want them also, and they're willing to work extremely hard to get them, and some people are willing to, lie, cheat, and steal. I don't believe crime pays. I think that, people that try to take shortcuts, pay for it. But life is very competitive. The second reason is that from a spiritual perspective, I think the earth, I'm listening to an audiobook now called Journey of Souls, and I think the earth is kind of like a testing ground for souls that really want to grow more quickly. I don't know if there's other worlds or whatever, but I highly recommend Journey of Souls also. It's been like life transforming to me just listening to it. But I think we come to earth as souls to kind of like grow faster, and that entails a lot of pain, because we have to be able to transcend like the negative aspects and actually see love and kindness through that, which is no easy task in this world. So I think we choose not that we're masochistic and that we like pain and suffering, but like Joyce Meyer said, she said that she attracted a lot of people that were sandpaper because she had a lot of rough edges. Like, we have things in our personalities and perhaps even in our soul development that are kind of like rough edges and not developed, or it's a continual process of development, and we have to like go through experiences to teach us to be better people. And I think so the two reasons why life is so difficult, the first reason is because we're competitive as a species. We're not the only species that competes. I think all or most do. I mean, perhaps there's some. I mean, we compete and we cooperate, and most species do. I'm not saying we only compete with each other. There's a lot of cooperation too, but there's a lot of competition as well. So that's the first reason. And the second reason is from the spiritual perspective, that I believe, come here as souls in human form to learn and to grow, and this is a testing ground of difficult sorts to facilitate that.